try to keep you on task tonight.
Are we ready?
Whenever you are.
All right, let me get my paperwork. We will call the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for the May 9th regular meeting to order. If we could have a roll call.
Mr. Stone?
Here.
Mr. Brumfield?
Here.
Mr. Yeaman?
Here.
Mr. Craddock?
Here.
Ms. Deering? Mr. Merrick's?
Here.
Mr. Easley?
Here. If y'all would, please rise and join with me in a moment of silence, and after that, then we will salute our flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You have before you the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do I hear any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I move be approved.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, thank you. Motion is carried. You have before you the minutes of the April the 11th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I move they be approved.
Got a motion for Mr. Craddock for approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a second for Mr. Yeaman. Excuse me. Please vote. Okay, thank you. The minutes have been approved. Any old business?
After the meeting, if you will each see me, I have instructions on how to get into your county emails. So just see me after the meeting and I'll make sure that you get those.
Okay, thank you. Any new business?
Next month, we will have 3 special use permit cases that will come before you. One for a double-wide mobile home placement, one for a single-wide mobile home placement, and one for a special use permit for ATV trails.
Okay. That's down at Elkhorn Lake, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I do not have a chairman's report. So we will open the public hearing. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to Article 5, Division 7 of the Pittsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, we, the Board of Zoning Appeals, have been empowered to hear and decide specific applications and appeals in support of said ordinance. In accomplishing this important task, we are charged with promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of Pittsylvania County. We must ensure that all our decisions and recommendations be directed to these goals and that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and in the best interest of Pittsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. Anyone here to speak to the board other than the applicant regarding zoning cases will be limited to 3 minutes. All right, we will open case S-22-004, Aquilas Carnegie and Jacob Mast, special use permit for a permanent sawmill. Your report, ma'am?
Case S-22-004, Aquilius Carnegie and Jacob Mast have petitioned for a special use permit on 351.38 acres located on State Road 678 Corner Road in the Bannister Election District for a permanent sawmill. On April 5th, 2022, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with opposition that the special use permit be granted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Aquilius Carnegie is here to represent the petition.
Mr. Cannigan, do you have anything you'd like to say to the board? Okay. Is there anyone from the public signed up to speak? Okay. And I apologize, the time for that was 6:09. Okay, any questions, comments, or anything for the applicant?
We closing the public hearing at 6:09?
No, that's when we opened it.
Okay, so are we closing?
Well, we haven't, I haven't quite closed it yet. Someone may have some questions for him.
It's my understanding,
Sir, would you come up to the podium? Would you come up to the podium, please? Mr. Merrick has a question for you.
my question's for us, really.
That's, well, all right. Maybe you can answer.
Well, it's my understanding we're issuing a permit for a sawmill. But it's going, you're talking about a hand sawmill, like hand work, right? But the permit is for a sawmill, and the permit follows the property, right?
Correct.
So if down the road, they get rid of the property and somebody comes in and puts a sawmill, they have a permit to do so, right?
That is correct, as long as they can meet the other requirements that the zoning ordinance lays out for a sawmill, such as
Unless-
setback requirements and things like that.
Right, but if we put a condition on that just for this particular type of sawmill,
Is that a question for me? Can you put a condition on the type of sawmill?
right,
If there's some adverse impacts you think would be remedied by that condition? Yes, sir.
just for information. I think down the road it could, since we are giving a permit for a sawmill, it could change if they particularly don't own the property. Does that make sense?
I think what Mr. Merrick's is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is appears to be a small sawmill operation. And if down the road that were to change into something, say the size of a Gregory sawmill, then that may be of concern to the neighbors. Is that?
Yeah, I didn't know, because that's not, I know what we're approving, but I just want to be sure we understand we are approving a sawmill.
That is correct. I would not recommend conditioning that it could not be a commercial sawmill, because then if they wish to sell any of their product at all, it would prohibit them from doing that. They would have to use
Oh,
it.
okay.
But you could put conditions on the type of equipment. If all of their sawmills are going to be manual, you could put a condition that it only allowed for manual equipment. But that would be something that you would need to, the applicant would need to verify for you.
You could also put a condition as to abide by the noise ordinance, tie that to your SUP condition. The primary concern is noise.
Right, I didn't.
You can put in a condition related to abide by the noise ordinance. Condition for the sawmill to abide by the noise ordinance. That way, if it violates the noise ordinance in terms of sound, you can be tied to the SUP, in case that's the concern in terms of the type of sawmill it is. Yes, sir. If you could wait for
Sir.
for the chairman to recognize you, sir.
Sir, you'll need to address the board. Bear with us just a second. We're still speaking with the applicant right now, so. The sawmill that you're operating, and you speak of it as a manual sawmill, but I mean, it's a motorized sawmill.
Right.
So what, I guess my question is, what's the difference in a manual sawmill and if you speak of it as a manual sawmill, what's the,
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's sawmills that work on buttons. You know, we got a motor running it, but
Right.
we're there with our hands and, you know.
but it's a
I
permanent,
guess that's probably a manual
I
sawmill.
mean, it's a permanent sawmill.
Right. Yep.
It's not a portable, it's a permanent sawmill, so I guess what it comes down to is, as you say, we have an application for a permanent sawmill.
Right.
And we need to
Which was to be sure we
address that.
understand
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir.
Down here?
That's it, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak in regard to the case? All right, so take your time. If you would, sir, state your name.
I got this letter in mail that
Sir, could you state your name?
They want to know your name.
Jimmy James L. Foster.
All right, thank you, sir.
I'm
Go
a
ahead.
landowner down on the corner road across from the Amish here. And I've heard complaints that they didn't want them to sawmill down there, but, hey, they back out a mile back out. I'm down there about every day, and my property is straight across from the road. They on one side of the road, I'm on the corner road, and, hey, the only way I know they're down there is they come out on a vehicle, but, hey, the county needs more revenue, you know what I mean? They need it. Okay, so I don't, hey, I'm in favor of them putting a sawmill. I just want to, they don't bother me.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any
All
way
right,
to help the county.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Because my name is Kimberly Foster.
That's my daughter.
My understanding that a concern was because of a noise ordinance. And if they're back so much, then the noise, if we can't hear it, others shouldn't be able to hear it. And I know that you said in the beginning of your meeting that you represent the health, welfare, and safety of the county citizens. And that's what it should be. But I don't see how them having a sawmill would be against the county citizens, causing health, harm, or safety concerns.
All right, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all giving me a bit to have a sawmill.
Could I speak also, please?
Good evening. I'm Betty George. I am their closest neighbor. I live right straight across the road from them. And like they said, they're like 8/10 of a mile back in the woods from us. And I cannot hear the sawmill running, so I'm sure no one else can hear it either. And I just can't see it being a noise problem for anyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the board? All right, then we will close the public hearing. The time is 6:20. Comments? Mr. Stone and I rode down to the sawmill this afternoon, and it's It's about a mile off the road. It is down in the woods, and and what they're doing, what they seem to be doing is cutting the pines, clearing the land with the hope and plans to pretty much turn it into farmland. But we didn't hear the sawmill until we were pretty much on it.
I think you need a positive motion.
All right, Mr. Merrick's has mentioned a positive motion. Would y'all like me to read a positive motion? And then we will see if we have a motion and a second. How's that? All right, whereas Aquilas Carnegie and Jacob Mast have petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a permanent sawmill, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, and whereas there are no significant adverse effects that cannot be, well, I'll leave that out, I'm sorry. I move that the special use permit be granted.
So moved.
Got a motion, positive motion from Mr. Merrick's.
Second.
Got a second from Mr. Craddock.
Mr. Stone.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. All right, if you would, please vote. All right, sir, it passed unanimously. Thank you all for coming out. Good luck with your sawmill. Thank you. The time is 6:23. We will open the public hearing for case S-22-006. Michael Mollahan, your report?
Case S-22-006, Michael Mollahan has petitioned for a special use permit on 0.90 acres located on Drucker Court in the Tunstall Election District for the placement of a double-wide mobile home. On April 5th, 2022, the Planning Commission recommended by an 8-0 vote with no opposition that the special use permit be granted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, I do not believe that Mr. Mollahan is here, is present. However, I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. So we as a board with that representation have to make the decision to let the case stand on its own merit or table it. And I will take recommendations from the board members.
I move that we move forward.
Second.
Okay. I don't think we have to vote on that. If everybody's in agreement with that, we'll proceed and let the case stand on its own merit. So, any questions for the zoning administrator?
I think it pretty well stands for itself. It's all mobile homes in that area, on the street adjacent to it and that street.
No one has signed up to speak. There's no one left out here. Is there anyone who would like to speak on the case? All right. Any other comments from the board? Very well. The time is 6:25. We'll close the public hearing. Comments? Mr. Yeaman, are you in favor of a positive motion?
Yes.
All right, then we'll read the positive motion, see how it goes. Whereas Michael Mollahan, excuse me, has petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a double-wide mobile home, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, I move the special use permit be granted.
So move.
Okay. Mr. Yeaman made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second from Mr. Brumfield. Please vote. All right, motion is carried unanimously. Thank you all. Do I hear a motion that we adjourn? I guess we're already adjourned, aren't we?
So moved.